Our next speaker is Lucky Laturi. Lucky is a 6-year active duty Army vet. I served with Lucky in Iraq, and he's got some great things to say.
Oh, Mike. I only prepared something because when I start talking, I don't know what I'm saying. I'll just go off and forget what I was talking about. So excuse the formality. But I have to open with a little bit of a disclaimer since I'm still in the Army. I should inform you all that I'm still an active duty soldier. Nothing that I will share with you today should be taken as the views of the 25th Infantry Division, the U.S. Army, or any other branch of the Armed Forces. The views I hope to share with you today are my own and do not reflect the official stance of any organization or entity other than myself. I'm speaking today because I cannot remain quiet about what my conscience has called me to. And it should be remembered with much gratitude that we live in a country that allows us not only to hold these beliefs, but to share them with each other in an open, peaceful manner. So as much as we definitely disagree with the policies that are in place today, I am thankful that we can come together like this without being harassed as people in other countries are. Real briefly, I put in my application to be a conscientious objector back in June on the 5th. I sought status as a non-combatant because I was trying to go back to war without a weapon. I felt that would be an extremely powerful witness. I'm a Christian, and I think that would be a great way to show other people who are still in the military how Christians can be compassionate and sympathetic with people who may not be practicing or believe what they believe. My God is so enormous and large and loving that he doesn't just bless America, he blesses the whole world. And when I realized that, I couldn't just, for me, I couldn't ask for discharge because I felt that I could have a place in the military, at least until my contract was up. Unfortunately, my unit didn't like that story. They told me I was trying to get out of a deployment. But I still hope to go back, at least to the Middle East. I'll be going to Israel November 19th with Christian peacemaker teams. I'm hoping if things go well, I'll be going with them, and I'll be able to see what it's like to be in the Middle East and be constantly exposed to that strife and conflict that's been around for centuries. But here's what I have written. And that being said, I have a confession. I'm a coward. It's true. I came upon this realization last June when I was in Washington, D.C. lobbying my senators to incorporate plans into their political agendas for the abolition of poverty and international violence. I was sitting in the Nashville City Christian Church when I was struck by my cowardliness. You see, 2 weeks prior, I'd submitted my request for status as a non-combatant conscientious objector. It had been received without much contempt or scorn. That would come later. Anyway, in the church, as I had this epiphany, I scribbled down the letters, C-O-W-A-R-D. In the Army, we have a lot of acronyms, which is probably why I instinctively wrote it vertically. Beside each individual letter, I started a new word. From coward, I slowly produced conscientious objector, willfully against rendering death.
You say you're a coward, but what did I hear before? Meek shall inherit the earth.
Amen. I'm not a pacifist because I don't think passivity is my calling. I don't think that sitting and enjoying peace is enough for me. I call myself a crucifist. I believe that peace takes a sacrifice, that peace takes some kind of action or commitment on the part of the people who want peace. In my application, I sought to return to Iraq without a weapon so I could do exactly what I'm doing right now, providing a strong witness for peace based on my deep love for Jesus Christ, who died so that others may live. I only found Jesus a few months ago. He was on the bus with my infantry company when we were on the way to H&L to fly to California for a training event. On April 20th, he wrecked my life in the most amazing, unimaginable way. Every waking moment since that day has been professionally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically demanding, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. The Bible has taught me awesome things about peace that have impacted me to the core of my being. I've also learned much about war and everything that it brings. Joshua and I deployed January 2004 to February 2005 to Iraq. I reconnected with him by chance when he answered the GI Rights hotline back in late May when I called them up and sought more information on CEO status. We both experienced firsthand what war does to innocent families and their very livelihood. War morally destroys the aggressors as it physically destroys the victims. I believe global war is never justifiable from a religious standpoint. Morally and ethically, it fails as well. In no historical instance has it produced the ends it ultimately sought to achieve. I worry that our current foreign policy is counterproductive to global peacemaking. I fear our weakness is in not admitting our own national responsibility for the events that began unfolding when zealous, misled, spiritually and ethnically offended extremists began their campaign against the Western world with the USS Cole and embassy bombings in Africa. From a historical perspective, did we ever ask ourselves what we, as an international presence, effectively did to inspire such hatred and fanaticism? What did we, as a nation, do to correct these misconceptions before we decided to go to all-out war on a single, suspiciously ambiguous word? We cannot change the past, but we can begin to take action to change our current course. Allow me to reveal part of my plan to effect national change, to alter world history. Humble, fervent prayer coupled with a willingness to act on my convictions. I firmly believe that prayer destroys enemies and demolishes hatred. It reminds us of our shared humanity and dependence on both the Creator and each other. It is a gentle reminder of the power of love to drive out fear, which is at the root of all war. When I came to fully trust in Jesus, I was able to see terrorists as confused, deceived, hurting human beings that they were. I want to close with a quote from a monk who lived during the Cold War and nuclear arms race, and who knew much about what inspires war. His name is Thomas Merton. I edited it slightly to apply it to the current situation. And this is what he said. It's kind of a long quote, but I really like it. He said, "If we can trust and love God, who is infinitely wise and who rules the lives of men, permitting them to use their freedom even to the point of almost incredible abuse, we can love men who are evil. We can learn to love them even in their sin as God loved them. And if we love the men we cannot trust, and if we can to some extent share the burden of their sin by identifying ourselves with them, then perhaps there is some hope of a kind of peace on earth, based not on the wisdoms and manipulations of men, but on the inscrutable mercy of God. For only love, which means humility, can exorcise the fear which is at the root of all war. When I pray for peace, I pray not only for the terrorists, but above all my own nation and myself. When I pray for peace, I pray to be protected not only from the terrorists, but also from the folly and blindness of my own country. When I pray for peace, I pray not only that the enemies of my country may cease to want war, but above all that my own country will cease to do things that make war inevitable. In other words, when I pray for peace, I'm not just praying that the terrorists will give up without a struggle and let us have our own way. I'm praying that both we and the terrorists may somehow be restored to sanity and learn how to work out our problems as best we can together instead of preparing for global suicide. To some men, peace means the liberty to exploit other people without fear of retaliation or interference. To others, peace means the freedom to rob brothers without interruption. To still others, it means the leisure to devour the goods of the earth without being compelled to interrupt their pleasure to feed those whom their greed is starving. And to practically everybody, peace simply means the absence of any physical violence that might cast a shadow over lives devoted to their satisfaction of their animal appetites for comfort and peace. Many men like these have asked God for what they thought was peace and wondered why their prayer was not answered. I applaud everyone here who had the courage to get off their couches and contribute in their own individual way to the pursuit of peace. I hope I have inspired some of you to introspection and contemplation. If you'd like to learn with me what it means to wage peace, I'll make myself available to anyone who feels compelled to explore biblical and practical peace a little further. For anyone who would like to pray with me for peace, please find me after the conclusion of the events, or I can share my contact information for anyone who would like to hear about my story. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to Iraq veterans again.